Hello friends, when talking about loneliness, you will probably think of unmarried young people, but loneliness here includes old people have to live alone anymore, and here is the story of the top 10 loneliest countries on the planet with statistics from World Atlas. If you think that Japan is the loneliest country on the planet, it is definitely not true. Let's join count where Japan is in first place will definitely surprise you. First, let's go to 10th place, which is a country in South America, Brazil, with 10% of the population living alone. Brazil often reminds us of the excitement with dances, to football players and lots of natural and cultural World Heritage sites. But surprisingly, Brazil is a country in the top 10 loneliest countries on the planet. According to the largest country studies in South America, Brazil has up to 10% of the population living alone, because more and more young people focus on financial stability before when you think about getting married. This story in Brazil is probably quite similar to the stories that are emerging in many countries with high standards of living. 9th place is a country in Africa. It's Kenya. Kenya is a country in East Africa. The capital and largest city of Kenya is Nairobi. Currently, about 15% of Kenya's population is living alone. Agriculture has played a major role in Kenya's economy, with 85% of the population living on agriculture. However, the country is also a highly industrialized country compared to other countries in Africa, with food, with petrochemicals, with electricity and building materials. Along with that, tourism in Kenya has a total of 18 national parks and nature reserves. But unlike many African countries with young populations, Kenya's population is a relatively small population and elderly, and 15% of the 56 million Kenyans are living alone. And also, unlike many other African that have to deal with population growth, the birth rate in Kenya is relatively low. In 8th place is also a country in Africa, that is South Africa. The country of South Africa, a country with a past with conflicts between whites and people of color, culminating in apartheid. Now about 24% of the population of South Africa, out of a total of more than 60 million people, are living alone, because the cost of living in South Africa is very high. Electricity is crazy, everything is expensive, and it affects in great to the people of this country. The unemployment rate in South Africa are at 34%, an alarming figure. 7th place among the loneliest countries on the planet is Russia, the largest country in the world, with a sparse population of only 147 million people, and 25% of them are living alone, as well as many countries. Other than that, many young people in Russia no longer give high priority to marriage. Instead, they choose to focus more and work on their careers, which leads to an increasing number of single households, increase in large cities, such as Moscow and St. Petersburg. 6th place among the loneliest countries on the planet is Canada. 27% of the 40 million Canadians living alone are single, with a country with a stable economy, good financial security, diverse job opportunities. But Canadians are still lazy to get married, especially in big cities. Many young people do not want to get married. Moreover, they have well-paying jobs and want to be financially independent. In 5th place is the United States of America, a neighbor of Canada, the 3rd most populous country in the world, home to about 333 million people, and 28% of all Americans live alone. Americans believe that living alone helps them control their time. They control their space well, even though they are single, but they have a very active social life with social networking assembly 24/7. A large percentage of Americans living alone are those aged 50 or older. Currently, about 26 million Americans aged 50 and older live alone, and the majority of older adults in the United States choose to live alone. Those are the people who were born in this period, the population boom of this country in the 60s and 70s of the last century. The 4th place is Italy. About 29% of Italians are living alone in a country with a population of nearly 60 million. And the reason why Italians to live alone is because this is a country with an aging population. Although Italy is also famous for its family, but now the trend of living alone in this country is increasing. And in 3rd place, we will come to Japan. Japan is the 11th most populous country in the world, with about 125 million people, and 31% among the Japanese said they were living alone. With an aging population and low birth rate, The number of people living alone in the country has increased steadily over the years, and the aging population alone has contributed significantly to the situation that makes Japan a country with a large number of people living alone. Besides, the view of settling down and having a career is a view that is deeply rooted in the culture of many Asian countries, making home ownership a prerequisite for getting married. However, now that global inflation is increasing, real estate prices in Japan are also increasing, and many people of the new generation are having a hard time buying a house because it's already difficult to feed yourself, let alone get married, get a wife and buy a house. Japan also has nearly 30% of people over 50 years old, and the birth rate has bottomed since the late 19th century. However, the Japanese government has also promoted matchmaking campaigns or benefits for those who have children, but these policies are not effective. A few stories like this can be told to see the point of view of how has the Japanese about living alone changed. About a few decades ago, eating lunch alone in a school or company cafeteria was a shame for the Japanese, who often had to go to the restroom to eat without friends, leading to the birth of the phrase, "Is the meal in the toilet?" However, everything has changed. Today the trend of modern industrialization and technology interferes a lot in life, making many of us become distant from each other and tend to prefer to be alone. Japanese people too, even going out to eat, or that traveling alone was once considered a shame, but now it is also a normal and extremely common thing, especially in a country with advanced technology and a way of thinking that does not want to disturb people. In Japan it's normal now for someone to live alone and do everything alone often. And in second place among the loneliest countries on the planet is the UK, which includes England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland. 34% of a population of nearly 70 million people of the UK living alone. This is like many other developed countries. Many young people of the new generation are afraid to get married. They choose to live single life, financially free, independent in terms of time. And finally, first place among the loneliest countries in the world, that planet, is Sweden. Although Sweden has a population of just 10.4 million, nearly 47% of the Swedish population lives alone, higher than any other country in the world. Sweden is widely known for its very good welfare system. Housing prices are also very affordable. But why do Swedes still live alone? Because young Swedes, they have a saying that alone is strong. Across Sweden, it's amazing how young people aged 14 and 15 have considered separating from their parents. It is a Swedish tradition to live independently, so in order to preserve this admirable idea of independent living, the Swedish government has prioritized a lot of welfare to help people. Is it easy for children to rent a house or have their own room at an affordable price? But everything has two sides. According to a 2017 statistic, more than half, specifically 55% of Swedish teenagers between the ages of 16 and 24 little when talk to a loved one. Thank you for your interest in following this story, the story of the loneliest countries on the planet. If you find it interesting, you can press the subscribe button to turn on the notification bell and share. And now let me say goodbye.